All right, guys, we are back with another video. And guys, in this video, we got to talk about the NFL Power Rankings because every week, lots of websites do this. I mean, you have NFL.com, Yahoo does one, and a bunch of different places where they rank what NFL teams are playing the best right now at this point in time. So going into week 4, we're going to choose NFL.com, Dan Hanzus, who wrote this article, because this seems like the most official, right? The actual NFL website. These are their power rankings, who they think from 1 to 34, best to worst, are playing the best football right now heading into week 4. So I thought it could be a good idea to maybe once a week go through the power rankings, give my reaction to them, hear your guys' opinions about it as well. So with that being said, guys, let's react to the power rankings heading into week 4. I have not seen this list yet, so I'm in for a surprise as much as you guys might be. Just like you, I'm reacting to it for the first time. But from this headline that says Eagles claim number 1 spot, Titans, Cowboys, and my Jags fly up the board, I mean, that gives away some spoilers. Obviously, like the Eagles are going to be number 1, but the whole 1 through 32, I have no idea. So with that being said, guys, let's go through what they have as the power rankings. So the best team right now, according to them, is the Eagles. Their rank from last week was number 3. And look, I mean, you can argue the Eagles are number 1 because they're 3-0. Jalen Hurts looks great. It's all coming into fruition. That defense, the offensive line, the defensive line, just everything looks so good. They've looked so dominant. And I agree that they should be in the top 3, but I think the Buffalo Bills, who are at number 2 here, I still think the Bills are the better team right now. I would still put the Bills at number 1 because even though they lost to the Dolphins, I mean, the conditions of that game were really tough and, you know, the players just looked dead on the field. And I don't think that was a full indicator of how good the Bills actually are because don't forget, the first 2 weeks, the Bills beat 2 teams that should be playoff teams by a dominant margin. They dominated those teams. And if it weren't for some bad mistakes in clock management and ridiculous weather conditions, humidity, they probably should have beaten the Dolphins. So standing at this point in time, I think the Bills are a better team than the Eagles, even though everyone wants to get on the Eagles hype train and they're undefeated. The Bills aren't. I get it. I would still have the Bills at number 1 personally. Then we have the Dolphins at number 3. I agree with this. I would probably put the Eagles at 2, Dolphins at 3. I mean, them and the Eagles are the only 3-0 teams. Tua is playing a lot better. The receiving core looks really good. This looks like a legitimate contender. I thought in the offseason the Dolphins were a dark horse Super Bowl contender, and so far, so good. They're 3-0. Got to be excited if you're a Dolphins fan. So they're the only undefeated team in the AFC. Eagles are the only undefeated team in the NFC. So I agree. I think they're a top 3 team right now. Then we have the Packers at 4. Okay, I mean, they beat the Bucs. The offense hasn't looked too good, though. They had a tough week 1 loss. So I don't know if I like him this high at number 4. The Chiefs at 5, are they better than the Packers? I mean, honestly, I get it. I think there's a lot of recency bias with the week before. The Packers just shut down Tom Brady and the Bucs and won. The Chiefs had a bad loss to the Colts, a game they should have won. So I'm not too opposed to the Packers being ahead of the Chiefs. Number 4, though, we'll see. Let's see who else is here. Rams at number 6. Okay. I think this is a little too high for the Rams. I know they're 2-1. I know they're the defending champions, but it's not about expectations or how good the team should be. It's who's playing the best right now. I don't know if the Rams should be this high. They lost opening week in a really bad loss to the Bills. Then they barely beat the Falcons. Then they beat the Cardinals in kind of an ugly game. The defense looked good, but there's a lot of questions about this team, about Matthew Stafford, this offense. I don't know if I'd have the Rams at 6 personally. The Ravens are an example of a team that should be ahead of the Rams. The Ravens should not be 7th. I know they have a loss. They lost to the Dolphins, blew a big fourth quarter lead. But this offense has looked like the best offense in the league, or at least one of them. Lamar is probably the MVP through 3 games, either him or Jalen Hurts. The Ravens are playing way better than I think the Ravens should be above the Packers and Chiefs. I might put the Ravens at 4 personally. I know the defense has problems, but that offense looks so good. And they're just, I think, more impressive right now, especially considering their offseason expectations and Lamar, his contract year. Lamar's playing the best football of his life right now, probably. I would probably have the Ravens above the Chiefs and Packers. So I don't agree with that there, okay? They should be above 7. Bucks at 8. That's about right. I mean, this is a contending team. The offense has looked bad. Let's be honest, bad. But they've had injuries. Mike Evans was suspended. Chris Godwin didn't play. I think their offense will be fine, even though the line is hurt. Brady has his own problems, but overall, I think because of their insane defense, 8th makes sense because that defense is, I think, the best in football right now. So I'm okay with the Bucks at 8. Vikings at 9? I don't know. Are the Vikings the 9th best team right now with the way they lost to the Eagles and primetime Kirk, and they squeaked by the Lions, and Kirk Cousins didn't really play well for most of that game? I don't know. I mean, they did beat the Packers week 1, but people are complaining about Kirk Cousins, and this team, I don't know. 9th? That's a bit much. Bengals at 10 is interesting because they're 1-2, and they did have a nice bounce back win against the Jets on Sunday, but I think 10's too high because there's so many questions about the Bengals, their offensive line, and I don't know. I mean, I got to keep going, but 10? Top 10 right now, the Bengals? I don't know. Niners at 11. What? Did you see Sunday Night Football? I mean, guys, I just got a feeling this is going to be this list is, this isn't a very good list. I got to be honest. Jimmy G doesn't even know where his own end zone is. He gets the safety on accident. He lost to Broncos country, the most ugly offense. No. Okay, 11 is too high for the Niners. Titans at 12? 1-2 Titans who got demolished by the Bills, who blew a home lead to the lowly Giants offense, and they beat the Raiders barely when the Raiders couldn't convert a 2-point conversion and aren't as good as we thought. The Titans at 12 is egregious, especially when the Jags are playing better than the Titans. I think right now they're the better team. There's better teams. We got to keep going. But guys, that win against the Raiders moves you from 20th to 12th. Ridiculous. The Titans have way too many question marks to be a top 12 team. That's insane. Cowboys deserve to be above the Titans. See, the Cowboys are an example of a team that they're doing better than we expected because Dak gets hurt. Cooper Rush comes in. That defense, or he fills in admirably. That defense looks really good. They should be higher than the Titans and the Niners, I think, because those two teams look a lot worse. They're both 1-2. Cowboys are 2-1. So what are we doing? Okay, that I disagree with that. Let's see. Let's keep going. Oh my! 14. The Denver Broncos country lets ride with that atrocious offense and coaching through 3 games that hasn't scored 20 points, hasn't cracked 20. Russ isn't cooking. He's actually cooked up to this point in time. You're going to put them in the top 14 over a couple other teams that I'm thinking of that rhyme with Lagwars? Okay? That's ridiculous. Let's keep going. This is starting to annoy me. Chargers at 15. That's about right. I know they're moving down. I mean, they're 1-2. So if you're 1-2, you're probably not going to be a top 14 team. And they got blown out by the Jags, which, again, I'm just so happy about. But Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen didn't even play. Herbert wasn't fully healthy. Bosa got hurt. They'll hopefully get healthy. They'll be a lot better. So that's why we don't jump the gun with the Chargers. But still, 1-2. Power rankings. Remember, power rankings is a recency thing. It's not about who's going to be the best team week 17. It's about right now, okay? And obviously, expectations matter, what you expect out of a team, but it's not the main thing. It's definitely not the end-all, be-all. You have to factor in a lot of what's been going on recently. So 15's fitting for the Chargers. Lions at 16. They were 16 last week, 16 this week. I don't know. They should have beaten Minnesota. Their offense has looked really good, and they've been a solid, respectable team. Maybe should be 2-1, but I don't know. It's not too bad. Let's keep going. I need to compare them to others. The Cleveland Browns at 17. Okay, the Browns should be ahead of the Lions because they're 2-1. Their defense has looked really good. Jacoby Brissett's been better than we thought. Nick Chubb's been great. Amari Cooper's been better than we thought, and the Browns, I got to give them some credit. I didn't think they'd be 2-1, okay? I thought they'd lose to the Panthers. Steelers, never an easy matchup, right? And they should have beaten the Jets. I know they choked that to epic proportions, but you could make a case that the Browns should be 3-0, and to have them below the Lions, I'm not for that. 18th is the Jags, and you know what? I know we jumped up from 28 to 18. I'm ecstatic that the Jags are this high. At the beginning of the year, I was hopeful. I thought we were a dark horse team, but if at any point we made it to 18th in the power rankings, I would have been happy. But this Jags team is different, and I know it, and you guys know it, most of you, hopefully, if you're sensible. From this dominant win against the Chargers to the dominant win last week against the Colts, who are better than we thought because they just beat the Chiefs, this Jags team has 2 legitimate dominant wins that probably should be 3 if they executed a little better against the Commanders. This entire team looks great. Trevor Lawrence looks really good. James Robinson, Doug Peterson's a great coach. Christian Kirk, everything looks good. And they're playing great football right now. And we're talking about right now, power rankings heading into week 4. They're above the Titans because they're in first in that division. They should be above the Lions. They should be above the Broncos. Guys, use your heart instead of... Use your logic and your heart. Deep down, just dig deep. Are the Jaguars a better team than the Broncos right now? Absolutely. Yes, they are. They should be higher than them. It's egregious. Saints at 19... They've dropped from 13. That makes sense because that offense looks bad. Jameis Winston doing what he does, throwing to the other team, it hasn't looked too good. 19, I'm okay with it. They moved down 6 slots. They're 1-2. Couple games they should have won, right? They should have beaten the Panthers this last week. And the Bucs was a winnable game because their defense is still really good, but that offense moves them down, so I'm okay with it. Cardinals at 20, they dropped down from 14 because when you are 1-2 and your offense hasn't looked good for like 2.5 out of 3 games, makes sense. It's tough to watch that offense with the exception of that second half against the Raiders. They've had moments, but it's just, they're not in sync. I think Cliff Kingsbury might be on the hot seat soon. We'll see what happens when Hopkins comes back, but yeah, disappointing start for the Cardinals. I don't disagree with that. We move down to 21 and we have the Raiders this high at 21, 0-3, I know the Raiders should be way better, and they've been one of the more disappointing teams, and we expect them to probably be a playoff team, but I don't know. 21 for an 0-3 team that has struggled a lot, made a lot of mistakes. Derek Carr hasn't played that well. He hasn't had much chemistry with Devontae Adams so far. I don't know. 21 might be a little high for the Raiders, to be honest, but again, I have to see who else is on here. At 22, we have the Giants. That makes sense because they're a pretty deceiving 2-1 team. I hate to say it. Their defense is good, but that offense is bad. Danny Dimes, guys, we know that he's not the guy, okay? So 22, especially if they were 3-0, maybe they'd be higher, but kind of got exposed against the Cowboys last night. So that makes sense. I think the Cowboys are better than them. I don't think they're that good. I don't think they're a playoff team. Let's be honest. 22 is about right. They're more of a bottom third of the league type team, so that's about right. They came back down to earth last night. The Colts at 23. Yeah, that's about right. I mean, I was thinking about lower, but then I just remembered they beat the Chiefs, and we got to give their defense some respect because it looks pretty good. And I'm here to contend that the Colts would not have won that game on Sunday if Sky Moore of the Chiefs doesn't fumble the first punt to the Chiefs of that game, because it set up a 2-yard easy touchdown for the Colts, and that bad start, I think, just took all the momentum away. I just don't think the Colts, if they get that touchdown right in the beginning, I don't think they win that game. And it's not like their offense looked good, okay? Matt Ryan didn't look that good. Jonathan Taylor. So there's question marks, but still, they won. So 23, that's about right for a team that should be a lot better because pedigree matters to expectations. So yeah, 23, the more I think about it, that's about right. Pats at 24. Okay, I agree with that because, look, I'm sorry, Pats fans, but it's going to be a rough stretch, maybe even a rough season because of Mac Jones' injury, with Brian Hoyer coming in, projecting forward. Yeah, that 24 is about right. They're 1-2. It's not going to be pretty for a few weeks, guys. I'm sorry, Pats fans, however long Mac Jones is out. I've never said Mac Jones is a world beater, but he's solid, and he's way better than Brian Hoyer. So let's see what happens there. But yeah, projecting forward, that's a pretty good ranking for the Pats. Falcons at 25, you know what? they're not a bottom as bad as people thought. The Falcons have been respectable. You might even have an argument for better than 25. I mean, they beat the Seahawks. They should have beaten the Saints week 1. They blew a huge fourth quarter lead. And they almost came back against the Rams. So this team has scored like 27 points at least all 3 weeks, or 25 at least. This is a good offense, okay? The defense struggles, but it's a resilient team. They fight, the effort's there. I really like what I've seen out of the Falcons. So maybe you can argue they're even better than 25. I mean, right now, maybe, but at least they're not lower. That's one positive. They moved up from 29. 26, we have the Steelers, and as long as Mitchell Trubisky's the quarterback, I tend to agree with this. That offense is, oh man, why isn't Kenny Pickett in there? Like, his hands aren't that small, man. Just let him start, Mike Tomlin, please. I mean, the Steelers' offense is tough to watch, and for that reason, they're 26th, and their defense isn't going to be as good until TJ Watt comes back, so that prevents them from being dominant enough to be higher on this list. So I don't inherently disagree with 26. The Bears at 27 is too high. Guys, I got to look at the other teams because maybe I'm just forgetting, but off the top of my head, the Bears are like a bottom 3 or 4 team in this league. I mean, Justin Fields, I don't know why Eberflus doesn't let him throw the ball, but he doesn't throw the ball. The offense looks ugly, and it's the most fluke 2-1 ever. They beat the 49ers with Trey Lance in an ugly, rainy game with puddles on the field. It's just, a lot of people question that win's legitimacy, including me, and they beat the Texans they're just, like, and they got exposed against the Packers. Like, the Bears, 27, that's a little too high, man. Come on. They shouldn't have moved up after 30. It's the most deceiving 2-1 ever, okay? Let me just put this into perspective. The Bills and Bears have the same record. That's how you know it's only 3 weeks isn't much of a sample size at all. Like, oh my God, the Bears are in for a wild ride. Guys, don't be deceived. The Bears aren't good, okay? Seahawks at 28. Look, I think the Seahawks are better than the Bears. They're respectable. Their offense isn't that bad. Their defense has shown flashes. They shut down Russell Wilson on opening day. Like, they're more deserving of a higher spot than the Bears. Okay, they're better than the Bears. 28, like, 28's fine, but like, Bears should be 30th or something, or 29, 30, something below the Seahawks. The Seahawks haven't been too difficult to watch up to this point. Panthers at 29. Yeah, because Baker Mayfield has played really atrociously. The last 2 games, under 50% completion percentage. The defense is solid, but that offense really struggles, and Matt Rule is on the hot seat. So I don't really disagree, even though they beat the Saints. Good win, but the Saints offense isn't very good. So we'll see. They can move up past 29. They should not be this bad. But right now, with that offense, it's just been tough to watch with, I think, kind of bad coaching too with Matt Rule, to be honest. Yeah, 29, that's fine. Okay, Washington Commanders at 30. Okay, how the mighty have fallen, because after week 1, people were anointing Carson Wentz the savior of the Commanders. He's back, he's legit, and the last 2 games he's been kind of exposed. Do I think they're like a bottom 7 or 8 team right now? Yes, but I know this last loss against the Eagles was bad, but the Eagles look like a legitimate contender. The Commanders didn't struggle to score at all the first 2 weeks. Their offense has had good moments, so I don't know. I think they're better than the Bears and probably the Seahawks. So 30 is a little low. I think 27, where they were ranked last week, maybe 25-ish. That's more fitting. So the second to worst team is the New York Jets, and yeah, I agree. I mean, they got that win against the Browns was pretty fluky. Joe Flacco, look, he's not good, okay? That offense struggles. It's just not pretty. We knew the Jets would be bad. Garrett Wilson looks good at least, but the rest, yeah, this is a bottom barrel team. So I agree. And last but not least, the Houston Texans. Completely agree. I think at this point, the Houston Texans are the worst team in the league. So, I mean, that offense is Davis Mills, not fully his fault, but he's not a franchise quarterback, let's be honest. I think the first 3 games have proven that. The defense is scrappy. It's not bad, but it's not good enough to carry this team to wins or anywhere outside of the bottom barrel worst team. I mean, I can't think either. I mean, maybe the Jets, but the Texans haven't won a game the Jets have. So for that reason, it makes sense to have the Texans at last place. I agree. they're not good. It's tough to watch them. I don't watch them because, you know, like I'm sensible, and so that's why I don't watch them. Sorry, Texans fans, but I agree with that. So overall, the power rankings this week for NFL.com. Look, Dan Hansis. Dan, there were moments of greatness. There were moments where I agree with you, but there were some egregious ones, like move the Jags up, move the Titans down, you know, and the other things I said. You know what I mean. So the things I said are the things I mean. And Dan, I'm going to give you, let's give a grade every week just to be fun. I'm going to give Dan a C+ for this week. It was decent. It was all right. But some of them, they had some bad moments too. Like I would say 2/3 was good and 1/3 was not good, and about 3 or 4 were bad, like I pointed to before. So guys, give me your grades for these power rankings. Comment your opinions. Let me know your own power rankings. Where do you agree with Dan and me and NFL.com, or where do you disagree? Comment, let me know. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're a football fan and you haven't subscribed already. You might like this channel. I'd recommend it. Why not hit the subscribe button? Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.